Hello everyone, my name is Julien Adler and I am General Manager at Azoth Systems. We are specialized in the safety of hyperbaric interventions and I'm very happy to be able to present you today the ODive PRO service. Azoth Systems has had the opportunity to implement ODive PRO services with Implenia and their hyperbaric referring doctor on the site of Lyon's Metro Line extension. I will start this presentation by providing more background about decompression sickness. Then I will explain more in detail what ODive PRO solution is and how Azoth Systems has developed it. And finally, I will end up with the study case of the Metro Line extension with Implenia. First, let's describe the context and causes of decompression sickness. One of the solutions to excavate tunnels consists in using tunnel boring machines. The TBM is made of a rotating cutting wheel called the cutter head, followed by a main bearing, a thrust system, and trailing support mechanism. The cutter head is a key part of the TBM as it is where the excavation is performed. Indeed, as the cutter head turns, land is cut by two types of tools: disc cutters, which are used to break up the hardest ground, and drag picks, which scrape soft grounds. During the excavation phase, the components can get obstructed by clay and worn out by the hardest grounds. This is why regular maintenance of the cutter head is required, which mostly consists in cleaning the parts to remove the clay and replacing the worn disc cutters. To allow access to these components, the TBM is slightly thrusted back and the cutter head and its environment are pressurized in order to prevent the collapse of the tunnel face. The maintenance operations are consequently very sensitive as they need to be undertaken under pressurized atmosphere. This condition is similar to what professional divers encounter. For example, working under 3.5 bar of relative pressure corresponds to the working conditions of a 35 meters deep dive. As a consequence, the interventions are limited in time and are preceded by a compression phase and followed by a decompression phase, whose duration depends on the condition of the intervention. Once the maintenance is done, drilling can resume and a new cycle of excavation followed by maintenance starts. Let's now focus on what is happening in the operator's body during the intervention. When working under pressure, the intervener breathes a higher quantity of gas. While oxygen is being metabolized by the organism, nitrogen, which is an inert gas, accumulates in the operator's tissues in dissolved form. This dissolved gas load increases proportionally to the duration and the pressure of the intervention. When the intervention is completed, the worker returns to atmospheric pressure. As the pressure decreases, part of the dissolved gas tends to transform into microbubbles. These microbubbles are normally expelled via the lungs during exhalations. However, when they form in massive amounts, some microbubbles may pass through the lung filters and end up on the arterial side. As blood capillaries become smaller, one bubble may be trapped and cause mechanical damage. This is what we call decompression sickness. In order to avoid this massive formation of microbubbles and therefore to avoid accidents, operators follow decompression procedures. Decompression procedures describe the stops that need to be performed during the decompression phase. These stops are meant to allow the gas accumulated during the intervention to be expelled in dissolved form through the lungs, thus limiting the formation of microbubbles. During the decompression phase, inhalation of oxygen-enriched gas is also possible to accelerate nitrogen outgassing. The duration and the pressure of the stops required, as well as the gas breathed, are determined through decompression table, such as the MT92 for French companies. The decompression profile depends on the intervention's engagement level, i.e., its duration and pressure. However, these tools are based on theoretical models, and accidents still occur despite the compliance with the regulatory decompression procedures. As things stand, there is virtually no prospect of improvement of the situation due to the large number of factors potentially contributing to DCS. Even beyond decompression sickness, poorly adapted procedures are also synonymous with increased arduousness, fatigue, and potential long-term effect for personnel. Let's now describe the work done by Azoth Systems to develop the ODive solution. First, it is important to understand that due to the high complexity and the huge number of conditions that may cause a bubble to be trapped in one's body, such as the level of microbubbles, the pressure and duration of the intervention, the temperature, the gas breath, it is very difficult to determine which factors and circumstances are the cause of decompression sickness. To answer the question of DCS risk prediction and to tackle the absence of any determinist causal connection, modern scientific techniques use a probabilistic approach involving mathematical models. This is what is called statistical risk. Those models integrate the quantifiable parameters contributing to the risk, or at least correlated with it. Azoth Systems has studied numerous hyperbaric interventions to make connections between the onset of DCS and the level of detectable microbubbles in the bloodstream. While the presence of microbubbles at the level of a single intervention doesn't constitute a sufficient factor in explaining and determining the genesis of DCS, the absence of bubble attests a significantly increased safety. Therefore, a decompression procedure that generates few or no vascular bubbles is considered to be a safer procedure. If we compare two procedures with one leading to high bubble grades and the second generating no bubble, we estimate that safety is increased by a factor ranging between 5 to 10. Until today, the reference area for microbubbles measurement was around the heart in what is called the precordial region. However, the movements of the heart chambers and the noises of the heart valves made the presence of a doctor necessary to perform bubble measurements of good quality and analyze the signals. This also meant that bubble measurements could not be performed inside the hyperbaric chamber during decompression. This limited de facto the possibility of carrying out measurement campaign in a systematic way. During its database analysis, Azoth Systems has observed that microbubbles measurement at the subclavian level, i.e. under the collarbone, were also relevant. This finding allowed us to benefit from two major assets. The positioning of the sensor is greatly simplified by the anatomical reference point of the clavicle, and the signals obtained are much clearer because the heart sounds do not interfere. Azoth Systems has thus developed a subclavian Doppler sensor controlled by an app and allowing operators to autonomously take bubble measurements on themselves. The ODive PRO system is the result of 10 years of research and development, 4 research studies, and 4 patents published. After the interventions, operators perform bubble measurement by placing the ODive sensor for 20 seconds under the left and then right clavicles. I will now let you hear the 2 acoustic signals recorded with the Doppler sensor. The first signal has no bubble, and you will be able to hear the pulse and the venous flow. Now, here is a signal with a high bubble grade. When the 20-second recording is finished, the first algorithm embedded in the app analyzes the signal's quality to validate the measurement. If the quality is not sufficient, operators are requested to retake them. The signals are then sent to Azoth servers for being analyzed. The ODive PRO service is part of a continuous improvement process. The first phase is data collection. After the intervention, operators are required to systematically perform bubble measurements. As we have seen that the presence of microbubbles at the level of a single intervention doesn't mean that a DCS case will occur, instant feedback towards the operator is not required. Once the recordings are taken, the hyperbaric manager uploads them onto Azoth servers. The bubble grades are incorporated into the reports provided routinely to the EHS team. These data are also converted into a quality index, providing in short time a vision and control of the adequacy of the procedure to the operators and the mission performed. Based on the results, optimization of the procedure can be performed for the table points on which the acceptable threshold is exceeded. This optimization can be made through an increase of the decompression duration or a change of the gas press during decompression. Once the procedure has been adjusted, continuous monitoring ensures that the desired impact is achieved. If not, conservatism can still be increased. This continuous improvement process enables the implementation of proportionate countermeasures while having minimal impact from an operational point of view. Let's now move to our study case, the extension of Lyon Metro Line B with Implenia's team. Line B is the third line of Lyon's metro network with around 200,000 trips per day. This line is an important north-south link that passes through the business district and serves several central areas and university centers. The main objective of this project is to serve the university hospital hub of South Lyon with its 4,000 jobs and 4,500 students, another southwestern sector of the urban area and its 100,000 inhabitants. Over 2.4 kilometers are added to the current line with 2 new stations, and the overall project should be completed by end of 2023. Implenia has been in charge of drilling this extension with the following key figures: 49 hyperbaric workers, 124 interventions, intervention pressures ranging from 0.75 to 2.2 bars, with most of them being located in a zone between 0.9 to 1.2 bars, and exposure time ranging from 20 minutes to more than 6 hours. Implenia has been using the ODive PRO service throughout the entire drilling phase. The operators have systematically performed bubble measurements after the intervention. Out of 248 bubble measurements, 89% were of good quality. This figure shows that the sensor can be easily used in an autonomous way by personnel after proper training. Over other measurements, 8% of the intervention resulted in high bubble grades, grades 3 and 4 according to the kilometres code. These high grades corresponding mainly to intervention in a 1.2 bar zone. Though the bubble level for each table point independently considered are so far judged acceptable according to the risk flow determined by Azoth Systems, a vigilance point could however be highlighted at 1.2 bar and around 210 minutes. Work is still in progress with Implenia's hyperbaric referring doctor, MD Aublin, to complementarily interpret these results with other physiological parameters. This implementation of the ODive PRO service has highlighted the simplicity of mass data collection with the ODive system. Implenia's EHS team has consequently been able to have a continuously updated feedback about its operators' decompression quality and to be more vigilant during some specific intervention. It is also important for us to highlight that the system has been welcomed by the site teams who saw it as an opportunity to improve their safety. On Azoth Systems' behalf, I would like to thank Implenia for its ongoing efforts to improve safety and for having made this implementation possible. This project has also been showcased during the Second International Scientific Congress of Francophone Hyperbaric Medicine and has received the first prize from the Swiss Underwater and Hyperbaric Medical Society. To conclude, we can say that the ODive PRO system opens up new horizons for improving the safety of hyperbaric workers. This presentation is now over, and I would like to thank all of you for your attention.